Hello everyone, I hope you all are having an amazing day. So in this video, we're going to implement some advanced Power Query techniques that will actually help to understand the full power of automation that can be executed by Power Query. So let's get started. At the moment, as you can see, we actually have a fictional football player stats data. So at the moment, as you can see, we have players here, and then we have the player's name and all his information. We have some like no information columns, missing value columns, like these have like literally no information. After that, the same pattern actually getting repeated. So for another player and then another player. So in total, five players. So five players information we have. And as we can see, if we want to achieve our expected data set, that is this one. So basically, we will have a column players, and under this column, we will have all the information like all the player information after this session. And then we actually had like two different goals column, that is a goal home, goal away. So we just unpivoted the thing and we actually got like goal type and the goals. We also have like cards. So I actually did not make the cards like unpivot it. I just kept them yellow cards and red cards. But if you want, you can also apply the unpivoting techniques here to get the cards in a singular like you can get cards information in a column and the value information in another column. So this is what we're actually expecting to come into this cleaned data set. The approach is actually not so easy as it seems. So let me go to the Excalibur and let's actually talk about what we are going to implement. So at first, we actually have to filter the top rows and we will actually do the filtering dynamically. We will not use any hard-coded remove top rows thing. After that, we are going to dynamically filter the bottom rows. And again, there will be no hard-coded remove bottom rows. And finally, once we do the transformation for one single player, we're going to create a template. We're going to make a function from the template, and we are going to apply the function for each players. To basically, we're going to apply the loop for each of the players, and we will actually get our combined tables. So, like all this talk might be confusing for you. So I think without wasting any much time, we can just get started. So as you can see, in Power Query, we have loaded our data set and we will start doing the data transformation processes. So at first, I will make a duplicate of my original sheet and I will name it as a template. And initially, I can see that the first row is actually completely null. So I will, go to home, remove rows, remove top rows, and I will input one here. So it's going to like remove the very first row. But this method is actually not, a dynamic method of filtering. But we can actually implement a semi-dynamic approach for filtering top rows. So basically what I need to filter out all the top, missing rows uh, until I get the value Nicholas Anelka under the players column. So I will use each and players. So this will actually evaluate all the rows in the players column not equals to Nicholas Anelka. Nicholas Anelka. Okay. So it's like see, nothing has actually has been changed because it's returning me the same output as the removing top first row, like top one row. But here is the important factor is that um, let me do one thing. If I go to the source, if I go to sheet one and suppose I get some extra missing rows. Okay, and I saved it. Now let me go back to my Power Query and I'll refresh the preview. You see, it's still returning me the same output. But if I go to my previous step, you see we have actually, multiple missing rows. So in the remove top rows, if we had used, only one, okay, then it's going to be like this. And it's basically like a manual approach, a hard-coded approach, and it's not any dynamic approach. But our objective is to get like rows until Nicholas Anelka. So for that, I should use like each players not equals to Nicholas Anelka. So what it will do, it will remove all the rows where players column does not have Nicholas Anelka in as their value. So when I execute this code, it actually gets Nicholas Anelka all the time. It does not matter how many missing rows we have. Moving on, I will apply some basic transformation now. So at first, I will select the players column and then I will apply fill down. So it will basically fill up all the missing values with the immediate player name. After that, I will actually promote my first row as header because the first row actually contains the column headers values, as you can see. So I will click here. I will click on use first row as headers. Now I will just simply double click here and rename it as players. Now I actually have all my column names, but as you can see, there are some um, there are some as you can see, there are some unnecessary columns here. So I just need to filter out those columns too. For that, I will go to home. I will click on choose columns and I will just unselect column 6 and column 9. Okay. Now, finally, I want to unpivot the goals home and goals away so that I can get goal type information in one column and the goal information in another column. So I selected both column and I will right click and I will click on unpivot columns. I will drag the column information and I will move it near matches played. I will double click here and rename it as goal type. I will right click here. I will go to replace values and the goals we have in the values, I will replace it with empty so that we can only have home away these two information and the values. This actually contains the goal values for that specific player. Okay, so my transformation is almost done. Now we want to limit our data to include only players up to Thierry Henry. Basically, we need all the data only for Nicolas Anelka at the moment. So for that, what I need to do, I need to convert the column into a list. So if I right click and then click on drill down, then it creates a list for that players column. After that, I will need to add a step and I will just get the position for Thierry Henry from our list. So to get the position, I will use list dot position of, and I will uh, include the step name. The previous step name is players, and I am searching for Thierry Henry, and I will click OK. So now the answer I got is 50. So this means that from the start until 50th row, we have information until Thierry Henry. In other words, we have Nicolas Anelka's information in our first 50 rows. So this 50 is actually our cutoff index value. So I will rename the step as cutoff index. cutoff index. Now I will add another step, and in this step I will implement conditions so that I can only filter out all the rows apart from the first 50 rows. So if cutoff index is greater than 0, then table.firstN, and I will refer to my table step, that is rename columns to comma cutoff index again. So this is basically used here for the count. Okay, so basically the first 50 rows, else return all other rows. So when I apply this filtering, and if I scroll down a little bit, then you can see that my whole data set has been filtered for Nicholas Anelka only. Okay, and let me rename this step as, and finally let me properly define the data type. Match plate will be whole number. Okay, great. So we are now set for our template. But now I actually need to make this whole transformation dynamic. Okay, and right now we are only able to do it for Nicholas Anelka. Now the whole transformation has been done for only one player out of 5 players that exists in my data set. So what I need to do is I need to create a separate table basically for those separate players. Okay, so at the first column is index and the second column is the player's name. So I can name this table as P table, basically players table. So this table is going to work as my helper table. Now I will create a parameter. So I will go to manage parameter and I'll click on new parameter. And here I will just name the parameter as player index. The type is going to be like number and the current value could be 1. Okay. Now back in the template, instead of using Nicholas Anelka, I have to incorporate the index value. Okay, now for that, at first I actually need to get in my helper table, that is T table. It's going to be capital T. Okay, now for the remove top rows, it's going to be the change type. So let me just make it as change type. Oh, it's just change type, nothing else. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to add another step to basically find out the player name, when index is actually 1. So how to do that? So custom one. So instead of custom one, let me rename the step as players table import. And here I'm using player table import, but I only want the information of the player name when index equals to player index. Okay, so when I'm actually using this code, so I got out Nicholas Anelka. So what is happening here? So I am referring to my previous step, and after that I'm using curly brackets for matching the index with my parameter value, so that this index is actually referring to the actual column, and I am the equating its value to my parameter value. So my parameter is actually player index. And finally, I am actually getting out the player's name. So when I'm inputting 1, I'm getting Nicholas Anelka. And in the player index, if I change it to 4, if I go back to template, if I go to this custom tool, then you see now I'm getting out Kaka. Okay, now let me rename this as P name. Okay, and let me also change the value back to 1. So in the P name, now I'm getting out Nicholas Anelka. Now in the remove top rows, instead of using Nicholas Anelka, I will replace the value with, you guessed it right, with P name. So you see, I'm getting the exactly same value. And now if I use like 2 here, if I go back to my template, if I go to remove top rows, I can get theory only here. Okay, so still there are some steps also needs to be done. Because of that, it's showing error at the very final step. So let me fix all those steps one by one. So fill down, it's perfect. Promote headers, it's perfect. In the change type, it's actually showing that there is some kind of problem. So you see that the very first value, it's showing Nicholas Anelka here. So I can just replace it with p name and click OK. Then I'm getting out the actual columns. Rename columns. So basically, I am now renaming. So, so the theory only basically when you are promoting the header, the first column name becomes the player name. So what I did, I just in the next step, I just double click here and renamed it to players. So here, instead of like actual hard coded value, I will input my uh, dynamic value, that's p name, and now I'm getting out players. Removed other columns, unpivot, all good, all good. Yeah. So still there is some step remaining. So in the cutoff index, we also need to change it. But here we cannot actually use pname, because if we use pname, then it's just gonna return the same name. But here we actually include or input the second player's name, right? So to get the second player's name, we have to again do a similar approach as before. So what I'm talking about is like player table import, okay? And in the p name, so let me just copy this thing. And before cutoff index, I will add a step, okay? I will just copy paste, and here I will make player index +1 and I will click OK. Now I'm actually getting out the next player's name. And okay, then I will rename this as immediate p name. Okay. Now in the cutoff index, instead of using p name, I will use immediate p name. Um, and here the step it will refer to is the players, not the immediate p name. So now you see we got the position. So now if we go to player info, then we got all my theory on information. If I go to change type, and finally we can get our cleaned table. And now if I change to like number 3. At the end, I can get Ronaldo Nazario, of course. If I choose number 4, I can get Kaka's information. But here's the problem. If I input number 5, then it's actually facing a problem. So what is the problem? The problem is that the immediate P name, okay? So I'm like inputting here that you should find out the player name where index is equal to 5 plus 1. But in our data set, in our like player data set that we actually created, the helper data set, we only have values until 5. So there is actually no index 6 value player. So for that, we actually have to implement some kind of condition here to dynamically like figure out the situation. Okay. So now what I will do, I will add the try statement, try to get out the information. If it is not possible, then otherwise just return the exact player. So now as you can see, it's actually returning me for the 5. It's returning me the Hernan Crespo here. If I do cutoff index, if I do player info, I got 0 because it's fine because there is actually no rows after Hernan Crespo. If I go to player info, then I can get only Hernan Crespo's information and the final clean data for Hernan Crespo. So here, as you can see, whenever I'm changing values in my parameter, I am dynamically getting out the information for that specific player. But this is now showing me one player's information at a time, not all the players' information at a time. Okay. So in order to achieve like combined data set for all the players, we actually to create a function out of the template. So how to create a function? So I will just right click on the template and then I will click on create function. And I can just give it a name, combine player info. And the parameter is automatically captured, that is player index. And I'll click OK. So now as you can see, it actually created a function now. And the function actually took in the parameter inside a folder. Now what I need to do is I need to create another separate table for players information. Okay. Basically, I'm going to create the same table, but in a different way. Okay. Because if I apply the function into the same table, okay, then there will be a circular reference problem. So let me show you what happens. So if I click on add column, invoke custom function, and I add the function here, then you see a cyclic reference encountered during evaluation. Why? Because we are actually using like the player names from this table, right? So for that, it's actually like it's actually getting used in the function, and that again, this table also getting used for output generation. So this type of cyclic reference does not accepted by Power Query. So for that, this easy solution, that is just make a duplicate of the same table and let's name it as combined data. And now I will add a column using invoke custom function. And now I will add my function here. And in this function, the parameter values will be passed from the index column. Okay. So I will click OK here. Now, as you can see that this column combined player info, it actually contains 5 separate tables. So the very first table, it actually taking the value from the index of first row, index value from the first row. So basically, Nicholas Anelka's information in this table, Thierry Henry's information in this table, and so on. Okay. So for example, if I click on the table here, then as you can see, I am getting the Nicholas Anelka's information. If I click on the final table here, I can only get the Hernan Crespo's information. But what I need now, I now need the combined information for all the players. So I will click here, right click, remove other columns, and I will just click on the expand button, and I will just remove use original column as prefix, and I will just click OK. And right now, the table I got is actually like a combined table for all my, for all my players' information. Okay. So this is how you can actually dynamically filter out the top rows, dynamically filter out the bottom rows, and also iterate through each players or each index instead of manually doing the same transformation process for each players or for each index. If you find this whole tutorial meaningful, valuable, please drop a like and subscribe to my channel for more intuitive projects and tutorial like this.